Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. I just wanted to put in a little time with the pit bike, trying to move it along while I'm waiting for some parts to come in. That way, like the engine's ready to go and so forth. So what I did is I ordered a carburetor for it. Not all that exciting, but the carburetor, it was $25, and it came with an air filter and the manifold, the carburetor obviously, and some gaskets and these two bolts. And what you notice very quickly, if you use all the parts they give you, such as the intake manifold, the intake manifold, right, turns the carburetor outward this way a little bit more, but not enough to clear the starter. So I had to go back to the OEM intake manifold, and quite honestly, I think I have a vacuum leak. And I'll fire this thing up for you guys, and you'll see what's happening. But just quickly, you fill the gas line with gas. I got my jump pack on here. I'm frequently asked this question, so let me just go through it again. My jump pack, all I need is the blue and white wire, which is the pulsar, the green wire, which is ground, and this wire to make sure the case is grounded so that I have spark. Inside of here, I have a GY6 12 volt CDI unit. I have 12 volts worth of AA batteries, and I have the spark coil. Okay, you can see all that. Then I got this really cool switch that lights up when you turn it on. See the red light? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I built this whole thing just because I like the light up switch. You can see I got the spark plug wire on. Got it all set up. Here, let me give it a hoot of starting fluid, and I'll show you guys what I have. I think you guys could see most of it, and hear most of it. And what do I do with the starting fluid? Oh, this is a touch. Nope. Starting fluid. Well, let's see if she'll fire up without the starting fluid. Choke is on. When I let it idle down, it likes to stall. Then if I give it some fuel, or give a little hoot of starting fluid, she'll fire right back up. Yeah, when I let it idle down, it kind of leans out and stalls out. And by the way, that whole time it's running with the choke on. So my thoughts are that I'm going to have to work on the gaskets a little more. This spacer gasket is really not great. You guys, I don't know if you guys could see it. The corner's kind of chipped out of it. The spacing isn't perfect. And this gasket down here wasn't a great match either. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to spend a little time with that. And speaking on that topic, William Stanton, he just did a whole, he was working on he had a bolt, he basically had his flywheel bolt come loose, which gave him a starting problem, obviously, for his 300EX. And he took it apart and he made a gasket for it. He's been making cover gaskets out of cereal boxes, though he says the Red Baron's pizza boxes make the best gaskets. So I'm gonna have to go get me a Red Baron's pizza box. I'm kidding. But obviously these kind of boxes with the corrugated, not so good for gaskets. As a matter of fact, forget the not so good. They are no good for gaskets. I have a few gaskets floating around. This might be, well, forget might be. This is probably the gasket I should have used for down here. From the stamp, and I'm using the word stamp, impression, tattletale marks. Let's go with tattletale marks. Fingerprints. It looks like this guy had one of these on it, because you can see the O-ring stamp on the aluminum piece here. So I should probably pull the carb off and put that there. And then I should also figure out how to improve this. I do need that spacer in there, because without that spacer, the carburetor has a tendency to rub there. So it is running better than it was on the OEM carburetor, though to be quite honest with you, I'm not positive that OEM carburetor was the one that came with the bike. I'm not positive about that. It may or may not be. So, yeah, a lot of times when you get these kit bikes, you got to fuss around with them a little bit. And I have a tendency to show all of it. I show my videos kind of in a discovery mode. As I kind of go forward and find things, I have a tendency to show them. And there's a method to my madness. I'm hoping that there's some young kids out there, or kids my age, so older kids, late teenagers, let's call us, who are out buying these bikes. And not everybody has a load of experience. So if I figure if I show you guys some of the pitfalls, troubles, little holes that you might step into, it might help you get out of those holes. A lot of times I'm asked, once again, I have all these wires, where do I hook them up to? These wires here are going to tell you if you're in neutral, first gear, second gear, that kind of stuff. And let me give you a hint about that. Who cares? Yellow and white, if you want to put a 12-volt system on this thing and charge the battery, that's what you're going to need that for. This black and red, this provides power for an AC stator. Obviously, my box has 12 volts in it, so I don't need an AC stator. So given that, what do you need? And that's the question you should always be asking. You always need ground, because you always need a reference. You always need a blue and white, because that's how you time your engine. That's how you know when to spark. That's when this thing knows when to spark. This thing already has 12 volts in it, so I don't need that. And to spark, once again, here's another ground going to the body, just so that I'm sure. Sometimes these internal grounds are ground for the stator. Sometimes they're ground for the pulsar. And sometimes they're not always hooked rock solid to ground. Most of the time, probably 90-something% of the time, they are hooked rock solid to ground, but not all the time. So when I built my CDI box, I came up with an extra ground wire. I went with black for ground. I don't know. Black is kind of, pure black for ground is kind of a convention when you have a charging circuit, 12-volt charging circuit on a bike. Some of the old 6-volt bikes had black for ground. They have a tendency to use green for ground if you have an AC type pit bike. And some of the Chinese bikes hook green and black together haphazardly for ground. So you really got to kind of pay attention, and you can always figure out what ground is by hooking to the black wire and doing a quick ohm meter test to metal, or you can hook to the green wire and hook an ohm meter test to metal, to particularly the motor. And you should see somewhere less than an ohm. As a matter of fact, if it were dead short, that's best of all. Yeah, we're getting some snow flurries, and it might do this, and it might do that, and it might do the other thing today. So, as usual, our weather report is, we're not sure. At least they've been getting the temperatures right. They just can't tell me if it's going to snow or not. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for watching, for coming out here in the garage with me. I want to thank you all once again for watching, for commenting, for subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. I have to go draw and cut some gaskets, so hopefully I'll smash those on here and the thing will be running better. Lastly, if you do have some kind of intake leak, normally they'll only idle at a high idle. And if you guys remember, when I pulled the OEM carburetor off of this thing, I made the comment that the idle screw was really, really screwed in. So the idle was very, very high. So it appears as if whoever was working on this bike was fighting that battle before I got to it. So there you go. Alright folks, once again, thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing. Feet down, heads up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.